Michael, first of all, there has been news breaking today regarding the football club and a potential takeover not happening. Does that faze you in your role?
Well, if that is the case, because I'm not aware of it yet. I've got a meeting this afternoon with Mickey to go over one or two few things. But if that is the case, if I'm being brutally honest, no. I've got 8 games to go in a deal that I signed with the football club, and as frustrating as Saturday might have been in terms of probably coming up against the best side when they're at it and they're on it. We've got a really, really important game tomorrow against the top side, who are obviously back in form in the last 2 and looking to get automatic promotion. So for me, the focus is what we do on the pitch. And once I get it clarified from the club, then obviously I'll ask me this question again tomorrow night or whenever it is. And once I know and I've got a lot more clarity, I'll obviously give my opinion on it.
It's been a whirlwind start, as you said last week. What have you made over the last 5 days since joining?
Yeah, I mean, like you said, I've used the word whirlwind myself. It has been chaotic to a degree, but at the same time, we've used the training sessions and the time that we've had on the grass and time that we've had to get into the classroom to go over videos with the team, whether that's about the opposition, whether that's things that we can do to improve. We've tried to utilise the small time that we've had as best we possibly can. And that'll continue over the games, over the piece. It's never easy sort of coming into a situation at any time, really, taking over a group that haven't really, been assembled by yourself, or you haven't played a part in assembling that group, so it's always difficult. But sort of coming into that group where obviously clearly the previous 8 games before Saturday, not winning. So I think there's a few sort of basic principles that I wanted to sort of get into the players without going overboard too soon.
Were there any surprises with the performance against Birmingham City that you saw on Saturday?
1 or 2, positive and negative. And obviously I'll, to a degree, I've got to respect some of the players who played on the day. Like I say, I was delighted with how some players dealt with the atmosphere and the occasion, and they sort of come through that and did really well. There was others who I think suffered a little bit, which it's not as if we're the only club that has gone there and obviously lost a game of football. The last 8 or 9 teams that have been there prior also did the same, and I got the impression from the first minute they were at it. And I think I said to you after the game, for us to get something from the game, we would have been absolutely at full tilt and then slightly be off it. I don't know if the result at home had a part to play in that. I know if I would have been in their dressing rooms, it would have. So there's lots of things to sort of factor in. They are good players, and I made the point to the players this morning. The reality is that they're probably the best team with the ball, and we get that, but they're arguably the best team without the ball as well. And obviously when they press and they get the crowd behind them at home, it can be difficult. So it was a great learning curve. I'm almost delighted that was the first game in a way, because we're not going to face that again, with the greatest respect to the other teams. We're going to face a lot of difficulty. Wycombe will give us different problems, and we've got to find a way of sort of negating that and being a strength in the game ourselves.
Is there a degree of fear amongst the players at the moment with everything that's going on, being cut adrift at the bottom of the table, playing a team like Birmingham City? Do you think that may have crept in?
It possibly might have, but that would be my biggest frustration. There shouldn't be. We've, for whatever reason, as a club, found ourselves in a position where it's very, very dicey. Where it's not one of them where you know, you look at certain scenarios, and if, you know, one team sort of loses and then we nick a win, it's like, oh, it's almost like a 6-point a game where they've dropped 3 points, you've gained 3 points. Because we're so far adrift from it, I was hoping and certainly expecting that the shackles we really sort of let off a little bit. We'll go into a place where, i.e. on Saturday and tomorrow night, where, you know, they're expected to win the game. But, you know, for me, I want the players to show bravery. I used that word a couple of times after the game. Show bravery, show an intent. Yes, a little bit different to maybe what's happened over the last, you know, 30 odd games or so. But I'm a massive believer in the brave you are, the lucky you are. And by the way, don't sort of get that mixed up with stupidity. There's a difference. But if you want to produce players and want to make players better, then, you know, you have to take risks in the right areas, you know. And I would imagine that, you know, whether it's Mick, whether it's the chairman, who, when they sort of see me as a opportunity to come into the football club, I think my philosophy, everyone says, oh, what's your philosophy? And my philosophy is dead simple, really, and it's a little bit different to most, but I'd like to think that 90% of people I come in contact with or coach end up being a better player by the time I finish using them.
You got a look at what the support is like here at Shrewsbury. 1,600 there at St Andrews at the weekend. I mean, you must have been blown away by how vocal they were.
No, they were superb, and like literally, you know, right to the death. You know, they were behind the players and they were very, very loud, and I'm just glad they had got something to cheer about right at the end. You know, there was an opportunity for them to you know, go even louder, but especially in that type of arena, we needed them massively, because yeah, the result was what it was, and you know, we were a bit frustrated with a couple of the goals, to say the least, but to have, you know, the backing and the support that we did in that big of an arena with that huge home sort of fan base that they've got, it certainly helped us.
And finally, you of course need to defend better against Wycombe, because the same could happen again. What kind of work, or what have you said to your team to try and ensure some of those mistakes don't happen again?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I think prior to Saturday, I believe, like, obviously, I think it was almost like 80% of the goals conceded over the last 8 games or so have been either as a result of a set play or a second phase of a set play. And obviously 2 of the goals on Saturday were almost sort of identical to that theme, so we need to eradicate it. I've given them 1 or 2 things where I think they can help themselves and be a little bit more aggressive in their approach, without obviously giving fouls away, giving penalties away, etc. And we try to work out on the grass and try and make sure we eradicate that from our play. It might not happen overnight, but certainly if I start seeing signs and positive signs tomorrow night, then obviously it'll help us going forward.